Welcome to the Book Talks, where stories aren't just read, they're understood. Today, the book under discussion is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami.
I am so excited to get into this one today.
Yeah, it's an incredible book. So I want you to picture this. Imagine you are 37 years old, you're living a completely normal, functional adult life.
Yes, just going about your business.
Exactly. And you're strapped into a seat on a Boeing 747 descending through these heavy, dark clouds into Hamburg, Germany.
A very standard business trip scenario.
Yeah, but then the plane touches down and a generic, sweet orchestral cover of a Beatles song starts playing over the cabin speakers.
Specifically Norwegian Wood.
Right. And suddenly the grief hits you so incredibly hard that you physically bend forward in your seat. I mean, you bury your face in your hands because it genuinely feels like your skull is going to crack open from the pressure.
It is just a phenomenal opening scene, precisely because it's so violent.
Oh, totally.
Usually when we talk about nostalgia or memory, we frame it as this gentle, soft-focused time travel. You smell a specific perfume or hear an old song and you just smile.
Right, like a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Exactly. But this narrative immediately shatters that illusion. Memory here isn't a gentle breeze. I mean, it is a total ambush.
It really is. And our mission in this deep dive is to figure out exactly why that single song, Norwegian Wood, triggers such a massive, visceral flood of memories for our protagonist, Toru Watanabe.
Which means unpacking a lot of trauma, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to explore his incredibly turbulent journey as a young man in late 1960s Japan. And we're doing this entirely through the lens of this story's self-contained world.
It's a deep dive into how we survive when we are caught in an agonizing tug of war, between the crushing gravity of the past and the desperate, messy pulse of the living.
Beautifully put. And to understand how a memory can shatter an adult man's composure like that, you have to look at the specific moment that melody transports him back to.
Right, because that one song instantly strips away 18 years of his life.
Yeah.
He isn't on a plane in Germany anymore.
No, he is nearly 20 again. He's walking through this brilliant, impossibly green meadow in the mountains during the autumn of 1969.
And he is walking with a girl named Naoko.
Yeah. And it's such a vivid, almost overwhelmingly beautiful scene, but the conversation they're having is actually terrifying.
It really is, because as they walk, Naoko starts warning him about this thing she calls the field well.
Field well, yeah.
She describes it as an incredibly deep, unmarked hole in the earth. Just a wide-open black mouth that is completely disguised by the tall grass.
With no warning signs or fences or anything.
None. She said a person could just be walking along, enjoying the day, wander slightly off the path, and just fall in. And they would die down there, alone in the pitch dark, screaming for help that is never, ever going to come.
It gives me chills just thinking about it. The psychological weight of that imagery is staggering when you place it against the backdrop of what these two young people have actually survived.
Oh, absolutely, because Toru and Naoko are fundamentally bound together by a catastrophic shared trauma.
Right, the defining event of their youth, which revolves entirely around Kazuki.
Yeah, Kazuki. He was Toru's absolute best friend, and he was Naoko's childhood sweetheart. They were this inseparable trio.
Until he was 17.
Right. When Kazuki was just 17, he ran a hose from the exhaust pipe of his red car right into the window. There was no note. There were no warning signs at all. He just vanished into the dark.
Wow. Hearing you describe that meadow and the well right next to the suddenness of Kazuki's death, I mean, it makes so much sense now.
How so?
Well, the field well is basically a psychological sinkhole. It's this brilliant analogy for sudden trauma or deep depression.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. To the outside observer, the meadow looks beautiful and safe. But if you've seen someone fall through the earth, you are constantly terrified that the person walking right next to you might step just 1 inch off the path and vanish forever.
Precisely. Kazuki's death completely shattered their illusion of safety. It forced Toru to a profound, life-altering realization
It is.
that death does not exist as the opposite of life. It exists as a part of it.
Ah, yeah.
Before Kazuki died, death was a theoretical concept waiting at the end of a very long road, a biological failing for old people. But suddenly, death was in a paperweight on a desk, it was in a red car, it was in the very air they breathed.
It's like a fine dust they're constantly pulling into their lungs. But, I have to admit, I'm struggling to understand the romantic aspect of their relationship.
That's a very common reaction, actually.
I mean, I look at Toru's intense devotion to Naoko, and I have to ask, is this actually love? Or is this a textbook trauma bond?
With very blurry line.
Because it feels like they're basically holding each other hostage to Kazuki's ghost, using each other to keep that shared reality alive.
That is the core tragedy of their dynamic. Let's define what a trauma bond actually looks like psychologically in this context.
Please do.
It isn't just shared sadness. It's an intense, almost addictive connection forged in the fires of an extreme emotional experience that isolates you from the rest of the world.
So they feel like nobody else gets it.
Exactly. Toru and Naoko are the only two people on the planet who understand the specific, suffocating weight of Kazuki's absence. So Toru feels this overwhelming, almost pathological responsibility to protect Naoko.
He is hypervigilant, right, constantly watching her so she doesn't fall into the well.
Yes. But breathing in that dust of death completely warps his ability to function in a normal romantic relationship.
Definitely. And as we get deeper into the story, Toru ends up torn between two young women who represent entirely different poles of existence.
The past and the present.
Right. You have Naoko, who is constantly pulling him backward into the past, and then you have a new girl, Midori, who is fiercely tethered to the present.
And we see the devastating consequences of that backward pull with Naoko. She possesses this incredibly fragile, transparent beauty, but she is fundamentally unable to cope with the reality of the adult world.
The breaking point for her is highly symbolic, right? It's her 20th birthday.
Yes, because turning 20 in Japan is the official threshold of adulthood.
Meaning leaving the childhood where Kazuki existed completely behind.
Exactly. The transition is just too much to bear. She and Toru sleep together for the first time on that birthday, and it is not a moment of passionate connection.
It sounds awful, honestly.
It is an agonizing, desperate experience. Naoko cries uncontrollably. She is essentially vomiting tears, completely overwhelmed by the terror of moving forward.
And shortly after that night, she completely withdraws from society, doesn't she?
She does. She vanishes to a secluded, highly unconventional sanatorium deep in the mountains of Kyoto. She physically removes herself from the demands of the living.
Because she just cannot carry the weight of being alive. But meanwhile, back in Tokyo, Toru meets Midori in a university drama class.
Yes, enter Midori.
And Midori is the absolute polar opposite of Naoko. Where Naoko is silent, fading, and retreating, Midori is vitality personified.
She's a force of nature.
Totally. She wears short skirts, she speaks incredibly bluntly about sex and life, and she has this outrageous, almost aggressive life force.
But what makes Midori such a brilliant counterweight is that she isn't some naive, untouched girl.
Yeah.
She isn't immune to tragedy at all.
Right, she has her own heavy baggage.
Exactly. She watched her mother die a grueling, degrading death from brain cancer, and now her father's dying of cancer in a hospital, too.
Yeah.
She intimately knows the smell and the reality of death.
Wow, yeah.
But instead of retreating into the shadows like Naoko, Midori demands life.
Her coping mechanism is wild, though, which brings up this detail I absolutely have to talk about, the strawberry shortcake test.
Oh, yes. The infamous test.
Midori is explaining her concept of perfect love to Toru, and she says she wants a man who, if she suddenly demands strawberry shortcake, will drop whatever he's doing and run out into the city to buy it.
Drop everything?
Yeah. And when he comes back, out of breath, and presents this cake to her, she wants to be able to say, I don't want it anymore, and literally throw it out the window.
It sounds so crazy when you say it out loud.
It does, and the man's response has to be, I'm so sorry for my stupidity, let me go buy you chocolate mousse instead.
On the surface, it sounds like the absurd rambling of a spoiled child, right?
It really does.
But if you look at the psychological mechanism behind it, it makes devastating sense. Midori is starved for unconditional love.
Because of her parents.
Yeah. She tells Toru that her parents never gave her enough emotional attention. They always prioritized the family bookshop or practical matters over her feelings. So what she is actually looking for is what she calls perfect selfishness.
But wait, isn't her demand for perfect selfishness just as damaged as Naoko's complete withdrawal?
How do you mean?
Well, it's like she's testing someone's devotion to extreme limits just to prove they won't abandon her the way life is abandoning her parents. To me, Midori is like a glaring, buzzing neon sign in a dark alley.
A neon sign. I like that.
Yeah, she's screaming and demanding your attention just so she doesn't feel alone in the dark, whereas Naoko is the terrifying, silent gravity of a black hole pulling you into the void. They were both incredibly broken by loss, just reacting in complete opposite directions.
That black hole and the neon sign. That perfectly captures the dichotomy. Both women are fundamentally broken by the trauma of existence.
Right.
Midori fights the void, by making outrageous, messy demands for life to prove she still exists.
Ah.
Naoko quietly retreats into the shadows, hoping to simply cease existing without causing a fuss.
And Toru is caught dead center, trying to figure out which gravitational pull to surrender to.
Exactly.
So if you're Toru, how do you even survive that tug of war without being ripped apart? It feels like you would need a third option just to stay sane.
You do. You find a way to temporarily stop feeling anything at all. You seek out numbness.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Toru finds a mentor for that exact state of mind right in his own university dormitory.
Enter Nagasawa. I have to be honest, when I was reading through the sources on this, I was genuinely baffled by Toru's friendship with this guy.
Oh, he is a fascinating character.
Toru is this quiet, deeply sensitive, grieving person. Why on earth does he voluntarily hang out with Nagasawa?
Because they are so different.
Yeah. Nagasawa is wealthy, elite, completely arrogant, and bound for a high-level government job. His personal rule is that he only reads authors who have been dead for at least 30 years, refusing to waste time on anything that hasn't survived the baptism of time.
Quite the flex.
Right. And worse, he treats sleeping with women as a ruthless game, entirely devoid of emotion. Why would Toru want to be around that?
Think about the immense emotional pressure Toru is under. He is carrying Naoko's fragility and Midori's demands. Nagasawa represents the ultimate escape from emotional responsibility.
Oh, okay.
Nagasawa claims his life philosophy is to be a gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
but he defines a gentleman very specifically. A gentleman does what he should do, not what he wants to do.
Which sounds noble on the surface until you realize his version of what he should do is completely detached from basic human empathy.
Exactly. Nagasawa has systematized his life to avoid vulnerability. He has this steady girlfriend, Hatsumi, who is pure-hearted, elegant, and deeply in love with him.
And he just walks all over her.
She accepts his constant cheating with this quiet, tragic grace. Nagasawa feels absolutely no guilt about destroying her because he operates on a logic completely divorced from compassion.
That is so dark.
And tragically, we learn that Hatsumi's devotion is fatal. Years later, she commits suicide by slashing her wrists.
Oh, man. I see it now. Toru is using Nagasawa's emotional numbness as a shield.
Exactly as a shield.
When Toru goes out to bars with Nagasawa to have these hollow one-night stands, he doesn't have to care. He doesn't have to carry the weight of the dust of death. He can just exist as a physical body without a soul for a few hours. It's a temporary relief from the black hole and the neon sign.
That's the exact mechanism. All of the secondary characters in this narrative serve as mirrors, reflecting Toru's internal battle and showing us different coping mechanisms for survival.
Right.
If Nagasawa is complete emotional detachment and Hatsumi is fatal devotion, then we also have to look at Toru's roommate, the one everyone calls Stormtrooper.
Oh, Stormtrooper is fascinating. He is fastidious, completely obsessed with maps, and every single morning at exactly 6:30 a.m., he rigorously performs radio calisthenics, jumping up and down to the national anthem.
It drives Toru insane.
It totally does. But think about your own life, right? When things feel chaotic or overwhelming at work, do you suddenly start organizing your desk obsessively? Do you cling to a rigid routine? That's what Stormtrooper is doing.
Precisely. Stormtroopers represents a comical, but incredibly rigid attempt to exert control over a chaotic, unpredictable world.
Like clinging to a life raft.
Exactly. The logic is, if I just follow the map, if I just do the exercises at the exact same time every day, the world will make sense. The well won't open up beneath my feet.
And then we have the ultimate form of retreat. Out at the sanatorium in Kyoto, Toru meets Reiko, Naoko's roommate.
Yes, Reiko.
She's almost 20 years older than Toru. She was a brilliant piano prodigy, but her life and mental stability were completely dismantled by a deeply manipulative neighborhood girl.
Such a tragic backstory.
Yeah. Reiko tried to build a normal life in the outside world. She even got married, but the trauma eventually broke her. Now she finds her only peace in the isolated, highly structured ecosystem of the clinic.
Reiko shows us what permanent retreat looks like. The clinic is an artificial world where the sharp edges of reality have been sanded down.
So she's safe there.
Right. She can play her guitar, smoke her cigarettes, and exist without the pressure of the messy, demanding society outside.
Which Toru is trying to figure out.
Exactly. Toru is looking at all of these people, Nagasawa, Hatsumi, Stormtrooper, Reiko, and he is desperately trying to find the middle ground. He wants to know how to carry his grief without ending up emotionally dead like Nagasawa, or literally dead like Kazuki.
So where does this collision of coping mechanisms actually lead? We have all these different strategies for surviving trauma, but they can't all work.
No, they can't.
We are moving toward a climax that is going to force Toru to make a definitive choice between the world of the dead and the world of the living.
The climax arrives with devastating finality. Because the tragic reality is that sometimes coping mechanisms fail.
Yeah.
Despite the peaceful, highly controlled environment of the sanatorium, despite Reiko's constant care, and despite Toru's promises that he will wait for her to get better, Naoko cannot escape the pull of the field well.
It's just too strong.
The gravity of the past is simply too strong. She walks deep into the dark woods near the sanatorium, and she commits suicide by hanging herself. The darkness she had been carrying inside her finally swallowed her whole.
It's absolutely gut-wrenching. And Toru's reaction isn't just sadness, is it? It is a total, absolute systemic collapse.
Total collapse.
The shield fails, the numbness fails. He packs a rucksack and just starts wandering aimlessly along the coast of Japan for a month.
Just a ghost wandering.
He sleeps rough on beaches. He survives on whiskey and water, completely disconnecting from human society. He describes himself during this time as feeling like the caretaker of an empty museum.
That is such a profound metaphor for unresolved grief. Everyone he truly loved, everyone who shared his specific reality, Kazuki Naoko, is gone.
Right.
He is just guarding their memories in this hollow, empty space inside his own mind. He is teetering right on the edge of the well himself. The dust of death has almost completely filled his lungs.
But then the narrative gives us this incredibly powerful, almost ironic rescue sequence.
Which I love.
Reiko, the woman who has been hiding in the sanatorium for 8 years, terrified of the outside world, actually packs her bags and leaves the clinic.
She braves the real world.
Yes. She takes a train into the heart of Tokyo to visit Toru. It takes a woman who has literally hidden in an asylum for nearly a decade to walk into the loud, messy city and physically push Toru back into the real world.
It's a beautiful testament to the fact that healing often comes from unexpected places. They hold what they call a private funeral for Naoko in Toru's tiny apartment.
But it's not traditional at all.
No, it's not a formal religious ceremony with strict rules. It's incredibly raw and human. They sit together, they drink wine, and Reiko plays her guitar. She plays dozens of songs, pouring all her accumulated grief and love into the music.
Wow.
And the very last song she plays to close the vigil is the Beatles' Norwegian Wood.
The trigger. The exact song that starts this entire deep dive on the airplane 18 years later.
Exactly. And through this shared physical act of mourning, through the music and the connection with Reiko, Toru finally synthesizes everything he has experienced.
He finally gets it.
Yes. He realizes that no philosophy, not even his profound understanding that death is a part of life, can actually cure the sorrow of losing someone you love.
You can't intellectualize grief away.
You really can't. There is no magic thought, no rigid routine, no amount of emotional numbness that makes the pain stop. You just have to endure it.
You just have to carry it. The museum doesn't close. You just have to decide to step outside of it for a while.
That's a great way to say it.
And so Toru finally makes his choice. He reaches out to the living. He picks up a phone and he calls Midori. He chooses to step out of the empty museum of the past and walk back into the messy, painful, demanding, vibrant world of the present.
It's a deliberate choice to embrace life, fully aware of exactly how much it can hurt. He realizes that Midori's neon sign, as loud and demanding and selfish as it might be, represents the pulse of life he actually needs to survive.
He needs that bright light.
He chooses the warmth of the living over the silent perfection of the dead.
You know, this story is so often categorized simply as a tragic coming-of-age romance, but looking at it through this lens, it really is a survival manual for grief.
Oh, absolutely.
It shows us with such painful clarity how the memories of those we've lost can be an anchor that drags us down into the dark field well, or they can be the very foundation upon which we choose to keep standing and keep living. Toru had to go to the absolute brink of the well to realize he wanted to walk back to the city.
It reminds us that grief isn't a math problem to be solved. It's an environment we have to learn to navigate. The dust never fully leaves the air, but you can learn how to breathe again.
Exactly. And that brings us to our point to ponder for you today. Think about your own experiences, your own museum of memories, and the people who populate it. If death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it, how does carrying the memories of those we've lost change the way you choose to live today?
That is a really powerful question to leave off on.
Thanks for listening to Book Talks. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next conversation.